Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're trying something a little different, maybe the ultimate mental shortcut. We're doing a deep dive into the predictable failures of our own minds. Our sources are all focused on these systematic deviations from rational thought, what people call cognitive errors.
Right. And we're not just talking about, an occasional bad day or a simple miscalculation. We're looking at patterns, these deeply ingrained, repeating ways the human mind just reliably trips itself up.
And that systematic part is really the key, isn't it?
It's the whole distinction. A cognitive error isn't just a mistake. It's a predictable deviation from pure logic that just happens over and over. You see it across populations, across generations.
So, like what? Give me a classic example.
Well, we routinely overestimate how much we know. That's a classic one. Or the fear of losing $100 is way more powerful emotionally than the joy of finding $100. Understanding these fixed patterns, that's really step one.
It's funny. The sources describe how this whole field got a huge boost after a conversation one of the authors had with Nassim Nicholas Taleb. That one chat just kicked off this massive research project into what they call heuristics and biases.
And the big realization was that compiling a list of these pitfalls, these places where our logic breaks down, it actually brought a sense of calm.
Which is so counterintuitive, you'd think it would be stressful.
I know. But when you can name the monster, it loses some of its power. Once you have that catalog of irrationality, you're just so much quicker to spot it in yourself. And crucially, in your colleagues, or even in the market.
The analogy he offers is perfect. He says thunder and lightning haven't gotten any less frequent, but knowing the pattern makes them way less scary.
That's it.
And that's our mission for you today. To recognize these systematic errors so you can sidestep the predictable traps that CEOs, investors, and, well, all of us make all the time. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's start where a lot of these errors begin, with the illusion of skill and the illusion of pattern, where our brain thinks it sees cause and effect when there's, well, nothing there. I want to start with a concept that sounds kind of funny, but is dead serious. The swimmer's body illusion.
It's a great one. So simple. The source material brings up Taleb again, who was thinking about what sport to take up. And he was looking at professional swimmers, right? And he sees these perfect, streamlined, muscular bodies.
And he thinks, okay, if I train like them, I'll get a body like that.
Exactly. And that's the illusion. He's confusing the selection factor with the result.
So he was seeing bodies that were already sort of pre-selected for swimming. He assumed the swimming caused the bodies.
Precisely. You confuse the inputs with the outputs. Think about Harvard.
Is it a great school because it transforms average people into geniuses? Or is it great because it's just an incredible machine for recruiting the brightest students who are probably going to succeed anyway?
It's mostly the second one, isn't it? The selection is doing the heavy lifting.
Right. And that's the MBA income gap fallacy, too. People see that MBA grads earn way more and assume the degree is this magic key.
But the people who go for an MBA are already different. They're usually more ambitious, higher achieving to begin with.
They are. So the lesson for you is be really careful when you're aiming for something, whether it's abs of steel or a huge income or even happiness. You have to look at the raw material of the people who already have it, not just the process they followed.
Okay, so speaking of things that seem to work but maybe don't, let's move to something we all experience. Regression to the mean, mistaking natural fluctuation for, I guess, an effective intervention.
Oh, this one is everywhere. This is where you give credit to something when really nature was just going to solve the problem on its own.
Like what? What's a good example?
So someone has terrible chronic back pain. During their absolute worst week, they go to a chiropractor, and the next day they feel better.
Then they say the chiropractor is a genius.
Of course. Or an investment advisor gets a call after a stock has crashed 30%. Anything he does next will likely be followed by an improvement.
Because things were at an extreme low. The only way to go was up, or at least closer to the average.
It's just math. An extreme result is almost always followed by a less extreme result. It regresses back toward the mean, the average.
So what's the danger in not understanding this?
It's actually really destructive in management. A manager yells at someone for terrible performance. The next week, the performance improves naturally, and the manager concludes that yelling works.
And then they praise someone for an amazing week. The next week is just average, and they think praise makes people lazy.
You've got it. It's a terrible feedback loop based on a statistical illusion. The only way to fight it is to track performance over the long term, not just after you intervene.
That's fascinating. Okay, another statistical trap. Base rate neglect. We're going to run the classic test on you. Mark is a thin man from Germany. He has glasses, and he loves Mozart. So is it more likely that A, Mark is a truck driver, or B, Mark is a professor of literature in Frankfurt?
And almost everyone's gut says B, the professor.
Of course, the description fits perfectly. It's a neat little story.
But it's wrong. Your gut is ignoring the base rate, the statistical reality. The fact is, Germany has thousands and thousands of truck drivers for every single literature professor in Frankfurt.
So even if the description fits, the raw numbers make it overwhelmingly more likely he's a truck driver. We let the story win over the stats.
We do. And that's why doctors have that motto drilled into them. When you hear hoofbeats, don't expect a zebra.
Meaning, look for the common thing first.
Exactly. You have to investigate the high base rate ailments first. The zebras, the exotic diseases are incredibly rare. You have to force yourself to look at the big, boring picture.
And speaking of ignoring the picture, those losses we mentioned earlier, they lead us right into our next set of traps, especially when our emotions get tied to past choices. This is the sunk cost fallacy. And I have to admit, I still feel dumb about this. My wife and I once argued for, I'm not kidding, an hour about leaving a terrible movie.
Just a dire film.
A dire film. We wouldn't leave because we'd already spent $30 on the tickets and felt like we had to get our money's worth.
That is a perfect example. That feeling, that internal tug of war, that's the sunk cost fallacy, the investment time, money, whatever. It becomes this irrational reason to just keep going, even if it's a lost cause.
You see it with investors all the time. They say, I've lost so much on this stock already, I can't sell now.
But the money's gone. It's already sunk. What you paid for it should have zero bearing on whether you sell it today.
So why is it so hard to let go?
It's a psychological need for consistency. Admitting defeat, selling the stock, walking out of the movie, it creates this contradiction in our heads, and our brains hate that. That's why they call it the Concorde effect.
Yeah.
The British and French governments kept pouring money into that plane for years, long after it was clear it was a financial disaster, just to justify the money already spent.
So how do you fight it? What's the mental trick?
You have to reframe the question. You have to ask yourself, knowing what I know right now, if I didn't already own this, how much would I pay for it?
And if the answer is zero,
then you walk away. It forces you to think about future value only, not the past.
that is incredibly useful. Okay, let's shift from costs we've incurred to the value of things we already have, the endowment effect. I remember I bought my BMW for $40,000. The very next day, a friend offered me $53,000 for it, cash.
And what did you do?
I said no, politely, but I knew rationally it was a terrible financial move. But it was my car now.
The moment you owned it, it became more valuable to you. That is the endowment effect in a nutshell. Ownership inflates value. Richard Thaler did that classic experiment with coffee mugs. Gave half a class mugs. The owners wouldn't sell for less than about $5. The buyers wouldn't pay more than $2.25.
Wow. Just owning it doubled the perceived value.
It did. And you see this in auctions. People get into a bidding war. They get this feeling of near ownership. Backing out then feels as a loss, so they overbid.
Which brings us right to loss aversion. The idea that we're way more motivated by the fear of losing something than the prospect of gaining something of equal value.
Yes. A loss has about 2.5 times the emotional punch of a gain of the same size.
Yeah.
It's just wired into us. There was this incredible study with pamphlets for breast self-examinations. They made 2 versions. Pamphlet A was a gain frame.
So something positive, like, if you do this, you have an increased chance of finding something early.
Exactly. Standard health advice. But pamphlet B used the loss frame. It said, if you do not do this, you have a decreased chance of finding a tumor.
Ah, so it frames inaction as a potential loss.
And the results were stark. The loss-framed pamphlet generated significantly more awareness and action.
So if you want to convince someone of something,
You focus on what they stand to lose.
yeah.
You frame your proposal around how it helps them dodge a disadvantage, not just how it provides an advantage.
Okay, for our last section, let's look at biases that come from other people. Social pressure, trust, and how we look at the past. Let's start with social proof. The herd instinct, I mean, you see it everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Someone on the street looks up at a building and suddenly everyone is looking up.
Or clapping at a concert just because the person next to you started.
Yeah.
It's this deep, innate feeling that if other people are doing it, it must be the correct way to behave.
And the more people doing it, the more correct it feels.
It's why peer pressure is so potent. Solomon Asch did that famous experiment with the lines on a card.
Where people had to say which line was longest.
Yes, an easy task. But he put actors in the room who all gave the wrong answer. And a third of the real subjects just went along with the group, even though they could see with our own eyes it was wrong.
That's incredible. So our sense of reality can be warped by the group.
It absolutely can. This is the engine behind financial bubbles and market panics.
The sources bring up a really chilling example. Joseph Goebbels' Total War speech in 1943. The whole crowd just roared with approval.
Which is terrifying, because if you had asked those people individually, anonymously, do you want total war? It's very unlikely they would have said yes. But the group dynamic just takes over. It creates this false consensus.
It reminds me of that W. Somerset Maugham quote, "If 50 million people say something foolish, it is still foolish."
That's the perfect antidote.
Okay, so shifting from the wisdom of the crowd, or the foolishness of the crowd, to the single individual, authority bias.
We have such a hard time questioning authority. We just defer to CEOs, economists, doctors, even when their track records are, frankly, pretty sobering.
Like all the economists who completely missed the 2008 financial crisis.
Exactly. But we still feel this obligation to just follow what they say.
And that blind deference is dangerous.
It can be lethal. The airline industry is the best example of a fix. Historically, the captain of a plane was God. A co-pilot would never dare question a decision.
Which led to crashes.
It did.
Right.
So now, almost every airline uses what's called crew resource management, or CRM.
And what does that do?
It institutionalizes dissent. It coaches co-pilots and the whole crew to speak up immediately if they have a reservation. It makes it mandatory to challenge the authority figure. It's a system designed to fight the bias.
Fantastic. Okay, let's wrap with one last bias. One that seems harmless but is really misleading. Hindsight bias. The "I told you so" phenomenon. When I look back at my own career choices, it all seems so obvious now. Inevitable even.
That's the bias. In retrospect, everything seems clear. Google's dominance, the 2008 crash, the signals all seem so obvious after the fact.
But they weren't at the time.
Not at all. And the danger is that it makes us think we're much better predictors than we actually are.
Which leads to arrogance and taking bigger risks in the future.
Right. You think, I saw that coming. So you assume you'll see the next thing coming too. You rewrite your own history to make yourself look smarter.
So is there a practical remedy for this? How do you force yourself to be honest?
You have to create accountability. You need to keep a journal.
A journal of predictions.
Yes. Write down what you actually predict will happen. In politics, in the market, in your career. Date it. Then 6 months or a year later, go back and read it. It's humbling. It gives you a much more realistic sense of how unpredictable the world is, and it tempers that arrogance. It forces you to be more data-driven.
So we've covered a lot, from confusing correlation with cause to ignoring statistics to the way, ownership and loss just completely derail our thinking. The goal here wasn't to become some kind of perfect, rational robot. That's impossible.
Not at all.
It's just about identifying these systematic errors. It's like installing an advanced warning system for your own mind.
Exactly. And if you zoom out, it all points to this really powerful idea of negative knowledge, what some call via negativa.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
We don't really know for sure what guarantees success or happiness. That's positive knowledge, and it's hard to find. But we know with a very high degree of certainty what destroys success and happiness. Falling for these biases, for example.
So knowing what not to do is more powerful than knowing what to do.
In many cases, yes. Better thinking doesn't always come from adding more complex analysis. It often comes from simply subtracting these routine errors.
So a final thought, maybe we should think like Michelangelo sculpting David.
How so?
His method was to remove everything that was not David.
Ah, I see.
Instead of focusing on what positive thing to add to your life or your thinking, focus first on chipping away at these mistakes. Eliminate the routine errors. The clearer, better thinking, well, it'll just be what's left.